Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are firing up the engine on an absolute behemoth of a novel, Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, to really dig in and see what makes its world turn.
At its core, this whole massive story asks one single, really provocative question. It throws us into a world where being successful, where achieving something great, is treated almost like a crime, where the drive to create is met with, well, just pure resentment. So let's meet the people who are trying to fight against this rising tide.
So we're going to start with the people who still believe in moving forward. In a world that's just grinding to a halt, we meet two titans of industry, Dagny Taggart and Hank Rearden. These are the creators, the ones literally keeping the engine running.
First up, meet Dagny Taggart. She's the real mind behind the Taggart Transcontinental Railroad. For her, the sound of a train, that rhythm of the wheels on the track, it's like a symphony of purpose. She is absolutely driven by competence in a world that, you'll see, seems to prefer the exact opposite.
And then there's Hank Rearden. A decade ago, the press basically called his ambition a joke, a hopeless steel adventure. But tonight, after 10 long years of struggle, he has just poured the very first batch of a brand new alloy. It's lighter and stronger than steel, and it could literally reshape the world. This is the single greatest triumph of his entire life.
But when he gets home, just bursting to share this incredible achievement, he isn't met with pride. He doesn't get a celebration. Instead, his wife greets him with this cutting sarcasm, basically mocking the very work that defines who he is.
His mother? She just complains that he missed dinner, boiling his life's work down to a petty little grievance. His entire family treats his passion like it's some kind of character flaw, and his success as a personal insult. It's like they're trying to make him feel guilty for the very things that make him great.
Now, Dagny faces this exact same battle, but right inside her own company. She's the one running the railroad with this ruthless competence, while her brother, James, who's technically the president, just plays politics. He sinks money into these doomed government-backed projects and relies on who he knows, not on results. And this contrast, it's not just about two siblings, right? It's really about two opposing philosophies at war for the soul of an entire industry.
Okay, let's switch gears and look at the other side of this conflict. We've met the creators, but what, or maybe who, are they really up against? It's not just simple incompetence. We're talking about an entire intellectual and cultural movement that is actively hostile to everything they stand for.
So Rearden throws this big party to celebrate his new medal, but wouldn't you know it, his guests represent the very ideas that are poisoning the world. And it's right here that the whole philosophy of the age is just put on full display.
You have the leading philosophers, guys like Professor Pritchett, openly mocking the very idea of a rational, knowable universe. They're arguing that certainty is impossible, and that trying to understand the world is just some childish delusion.
Then you've got the most celebrated author of the day, Balf Eubank. He stands up and declares that all the great literature of the past, with its heroes and its happy endings, was just cheap propaganda. The only noble theme, he says, is suffering and defeat.
Meanwhile, Rearden's business rivals, these are men who built their fortunes on government loans, by the way, they're out there preaching about social responsibility. They use these fuzzy phrases like the public good to attack Rearden Metal, trying to frame his innovation as some kind of dangerous, selfish gamble. Okay, so faced with all this widespread decay and, let's be honest, active sabotage, Dagny Taggart refuses to surrender. She decides to fight back with the only weapon she really trusts, her ability to build something. The situation is getting critical. Colorado's main rail line is literally falling apart. Dagny's plan to rebuild it with Rearden Metal is the only logical solution, but her board, led by her brother, shuts it down. So what does she do? She takes this unbelievable risk. She quits. She forms her own company, and she stakes her entire future on building this line herself. And she gives it a name that's both a challenge and a mystery.
The reaction is, well, it's immediate and it's vicious. Competitors, intellectuals, journalists, they all launch this massive smear campaign to discredit the project. They say Rearden Metal is unsafe, they question Dagny's motives, they predict total disaster. But while they're all busy talking, Dagny and Rearden are out there building.
And the result? The very first run of the John Galt Line is a spectacular success. I mean, it is so much more than a train ride. It's a roaring, powerful symbol of what human reason and ambition can actually accomplish when they just refuse to be stopped.
But this huge triumph, it happens under this strange shadow.
all across the country, a single question is being asked, but it's not a real question. It's more like a statement of hopelessness and despair.
Who is John Galt? It's become the slang phrase of the age. You know, when a problem has no solution, when a situation feels totally hopeless, when you just want to give up, you just shrug and say, "Who is John Galt?" It's basically the anthem of a world that has completely lost its way.
But behind that cynical shrug, there are these whispers, these legends. Some people say Galt was a great inventor. Others say he was an explorer who found a hidden paradise. And then there's one darker rumor, that he's a destroyer, a man with a mission to bring the entire world to a screeching halt.
And this whole mystery of John Galt seems to be connected to an even more disturbing pattern. The best and brightest minds are just disappearing. A brilliant judge, a genius composer, the nation's most successful banker, one by one, the most productive people in society are just walking away from their life's work and vanishing without a trace.
And then it happens. At the very moment of Dagny's greatest victory, just as her train is pulling into Colorado, the pattern strikes again. Ellis Wyatt, the man who single-handedly created the Colorado boom that the John Galt Line was built for, quits.
But he doesn't just walk away. No, he sets his own oil fields on fire, creating this massive blaze that people call Wyatt's torch, and he leaves behind this sign, a message of just pure contempt. The point here is crucial. The creators aren't just being defeated anymore. They are actively choosing to leave.
And that is the real mystery of Atlas Shrugged. It's not just about a world that punishes success anymore. It's about that tipping point, the moment when the successful decide they will no longer consent to being punished. Who is John Galt, and what happens when the men and women who carry the world on their shoulders decide to simply shrug?